Stephanie, I was referencing your thoughts here. So you're looking for some movement this weekend or Monday at the latest. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, and I've really been looking for some semblance of an agreement by today, and I'll give them a couple more days of grace. But just the amount of time it would take to, paper the deal in the legislative process and then move it through both chambers of Congress. If they want it to continue to be attached to this federal spending bill that, as Elon was saying, that expires or will soon expire next Friday, I really would need to see some announcement that they've reached a deal by end of the day Monday at the absolute latest.
Jimmy, some of the main sticking points appear to be over jobless benefits. Speaker Pelosi said she didn't like the White House proposal that got rid of the extra $300 bonus, but it does have the direct payments, the stimulus check that Hawley and Sanders are pushing for. So how likely do you think it is that a second stimulus check is coming, and could that be a way to resolve both disputes on both of these bills?
I mean, to be honest, I think the second stimulus check has been a real complicating sort of factor in all this. I mean, there seemed to be some general agreement about aid to small business, at least in some quarters, aid to state and local governments, and of course, extending unemployment. Now you've added sort of this alternative that would replace the unemployment extension in some cases. So we're sort of adding new wrinkles rather than agreeing. So we've sort of agreed on a big number. And you think that would be like 99% of it, agreeing on the $900 billion, which is, a tremendous amount of money, and then coming to agreement on some of these other portions. The fact that we have not figured that out yet, the fact that we're adding sort of new wrinkles, and the fact that we've known about this for months, that we've needed more stimulus to sort of create a bridge to when we have these vaccines, and the fact that it's not done, that reality in and of itself, I think, is the greatest reason for pessimism.
So, Stephanie, a couple of things. I mean, Leader McConnell last week said, we are not leaving Washington without getting this done. He was referring to the skinny bill that he unveiled that didn't have state and local, that didn't have the liability shield. So is it possible that we go through all of this and it is the skinny bill that gets done, or do you think the only way this moves forward is if it's in the kind of $900 billion compromise range, either the bipartisan plan that we saw last week or the kind of newer White House version?
Yeah, and Pelosi has made similar comments with a similar sentiment. So both the leaders in both chambers have basically said no one's leaving until we solve this. In Washington, typically where there's a will, there's a way. I think the biggest complicating factor right now is that these Georgia Senate runoff elections are still looming large. So both sides are not sure if they're going to be in the Senate majority next year. And if they are, that gives them more leverage. So neither is really willing to back off. But all that being said, McConnell has sort of characterized through intuition as much as explicitly that anything smaller than $1 trillion he would view as narrow. So I think it needs to be bigger for Democrats to support it. So I think that $900 billion number absolutely is what I'm expecting.
Interesting. Jimmy, we keep talking about December 18th, they're going home, but are they? I mean, the real deadline is December 31st. Ostensibly, you could even work past that and make some of these things retroactive. We've had stories of Congress sleeping in Washington during shutdown negotiations and that sort of thing in recent years. Why is the December 18th really the deadline, or is it?
Well, I'm not sure that is the deadline. Remember, you have stories about people sleeping in Washington about the shutdown, which is not nearly as important as getting this COVID relief measure through. I'm sure you've had plenty of guests on here, Wall Street strategists who have just assumed that there's a pretty big chunk of money coming. Maybe it's $700 billion, maybe it's $900 billion. I think every day this sort of doesn't happen, I think people begin to question whether that is just sort of a locked-in assumption. And perhaps in the end, the action forcing mechanism would be the market. The market suddenly realizing that even though it seems wildly obvious that we need this money, that the odds are growing that it doesn't happen. Maybe eventually that's what will force action on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, if that even happened. I mean, given the way sentiment is going into year end on this market. But you're right that we're still seeing stocks kind of track the fate of this bill.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.